Hi everybody, Courtney here, coming in to do a little porch chat with a little life update. I've been kind of missing in action and I so appreciate you being here. You know, I don't have a huge channel. I do this more as a hobby. I'm actually not monetized, even though you're seeing commercials. I'm almost there and I may do it, and I appreciate those of you who watch and follow and who correspond with me, because honestly, my main reason for doing this, I started it for my family and my kids, and then I ended up using it for my school for teaching lessons on, and it kind of morphed from there. I never intended to do this as a side gig, and it's just been a hobby really for me to connect with community. So I want to talk today about am I going back to work? So many of you know that I was sick for the past 3 years, a lot of the last 3 years during the pandemic, and got sick, and it set off an autoimmune disease that I have had since I was in my 20s, but I had been in remission for nearly 11 years. And so my doctor asked me if I could quit working, and I looked at our finances, and we were in fact at a point where I could, what I would call, semi-retire. I thought I was just he said take a 3-month sabbatical, and I'm glad I took longer, but I thought I'm just going to retire, except for helping my husband with our home business. We have a roofing business and we own an Airbnb. I actually have cut way back on the Airbnb as well, and I left my job as a yoga therapist. I will say, as times get tough, there's some things I'm doing, and as I've gotten better, being off for the past, oh my gosh, I think it's been about 7 months now, has really made me realize, you know, I always worked because I felt like I had to. I've never been a high earner myself. My husband's just recently been a high earner as a couple, but it goes on his Social Security. So in the past few years, so we always kind of worked because we had to. We have 6 kids between us. I have 4, he has 2. Together, you know, we're married. They're bonus children at this point. And we were playing catch up. We both started over, me in my 40s and him in his 50s, getting divorced and being in financial kind of a mess from that. His was a disaster. Mine was bad, but not as bad as his. So at any rate, this is what we're doing now. So my children, 2 of my children are about to have babies, and I recently traveled to Colorado to see my son graduate from college with his master's degree and have the baby shower for my daughter-in-law. And that really helped me get unstuck. We didn't really do a lot of what I would call fun activities. It was more like, it was fun in the sense that it was the baby shower, his graduation, Mother's Day, but we didn't go out and do a lot, but we helped them a lot. It was kind of grueling as far as things we had to do and get done and commitments. I am extremely introverted. Like, I'm really good socially with people, but it exhausts me, and I have a lot of anxiety about it. I do that thing where, like, why did I say that? I wish I'd said this. I have a lot of anxiety when I am around people or afterwards about things I say or do, or how people responded, or what they think about me. And it's crazy because there's a real part of me that doesn't care at the age of 52, but there's another part of me that, like, I would never want to hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. So anyway, that all being said, it made me realize that I had gotten really stuck during the pandemic, really isolated, and I decided that I would go back to teaching as long as it was on my terms, that I would try it. I have been teaching for the past 6.5 years, people who were with me because the doctor told them they needed to be with me. Many of them were wonderful, but sometimes when you're teaching people who are not there by their own volition because they want to be there, they're there because they feel like they have to be there, they're not as eager and excited or into it so it can be kind of a downer, really, and I got really burned out. Many of them were lovely and were thrilled to be there, but there were some that were just like going through the motions. I miss teaching people who want to actually practice. So I'm a yoga therapist. I'm going to be teaching, I'm going back to my roots. I started out at a college 22 years ago teaching continuing education. I called a local community college near me, and I asked if they would want me to teach, and they offered me a great deal. So I get to set my own hours. I get to set which weeks I teach. If I'm traveling, I can take off. I got to set the price, everything. So I'm going to try it for a month see how it goes. I'm also going to be teaching a workshop. I'm going to see how it goes. And I kind of looked at it like this financially, and also what I'm doing financially is I'm going to use that money for things like traveling to see my grandkids, doing things for my grandkids, just general travel and savings, just kind of adding it onto the pot of money from our roofing business and from our Airbnb. Things are tough right now. Inflation has gone up. I thought that we would be able to live a few years ago on $36,000 a year once everything was paid off, and we were. And now it's more like $53,000 a year. I'll tell you that I don't mind sharing this. I know it's going to be different for everybody depending on the cost of living, but our life lived in an extravagant way to me, okay, for us, cost us around $4,600 a month, okay? So I'm not sure exactly. That's around 50. I figure it up to be around 53,000. Now, that is everything. That's going out if we want to take our kids to a fancy meal, which we don't do very often. That's eating out. That's going on vacations. That's buying whatever we want or need, which we are not. We're pretty frugal just naturally, so we're not huge spenders. But I see now, like, as we go into retirement, full retirement, which I feel like we'll be there, like completely done with all of our businesses in 3 to 3.5 years, I'm really wanting to prepare to live on about $6,000 a month. And the main reason is we could live on a lot less, but we have this 40-acre ranch. We have right now, I think 13 animals: horses, donkeys, cats, and dogs. It's expensive. Mowing, keeping it clean, painting. Man, I feel like we paint every 5 years. We have 4 buildings on this property. We're about to add another one to put our tractor and everything in. Tractor, gas, it's a lot. And so I have had a lot of guilt. I always said I would work till I was 55, so that would be 3 more years. That I wanted to teach for 25 years. I don't know why I get really stuck in numbers in my head, but I'm going to try this. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's okay. I don't need to work for money anymore, but I would like to have the extra income. I would like to have the extra money, and I would like to have the community. I miss being around people. Recently, I started going to exercise with my mom once a week, and I really enjoy the company of other people, the small internet actions, just saying hi to my new friend George or my new friend Martha. I don't see them anywhere else. We're not really friends. We're just workout buddies. And I kind of miss that because I've worked in the health clubs and taught yoga for colleges and places for so long. I miss just those little interactions and being around like-minded people who are health conscious. So some other things that we're continuing to do that aren't really changing is we have a budget. Every month I make a written budget. It's kind of loose. It includes all the fixed expenses, utilities, taxes, insurance, things like that, savings, our investments. Those all amount, the fixed expenses are around $1,100 a month. And then everything else, vacations, if we need to order propane, if I need to pay property taxes or car tags or anything like that, car insurance, that comes out of that bulk amount of money. Sometimes there's more money left at the end of the month if there isn't a big deal, a big, bill due, and that goes to the next month. And sometimes that gets depleted. So I don't always use the whole $4,600 is what I'm trying to say. That money, like we recently went to Colorado for a week. I paid for our rental car, our plane tickets, and I paid, well, I had mostly points for the plane tickets, and I paid for all of our expenses while we were out there. We all went and got, the girls and I all went and got pedicures, and I paid for those. I paid for a lot of our meals and groceries and things like that. So we're able to live what I consider a very extravagant lifestyle on that, but we're still extremely frugal. We eat at home often. I am going to take my son out to eat today, but when I do eat out, we go to places that aren't really expensive. So when we were in Colorado, my son wanted to go to this restaurant, my son and his wife, and it was about $212 for 4 people. That's really expensive for us. Generally, we spend about $25 a person in a fancier, like if we're having a nice meal. My youngest son, and I will often go out and spend closer to $30 to $40 for two people to eat, which we only do that like once a week or every other week. And I just have that budgeted to do that. The other day, like with my girlfriends lately, one thing we've been doing is my friends will come to my house and I'll cook, or I'll go to their house and they'll cook. And then my one friend, she came over, I made her food. We went and got a coffee or tea, and we went to a farm stand and we went to some yard sales together. So that was a really inexpensive afternoon. It was really fun and it didn't cost a lot of money. So I continue to look for cheap ways to entertain ourselves. A lot of not eating out for me is also being health conscious. My whole family is pretty health conscious. Well, my boys are, two of my boys are, and myself and my husband. And so often that encourages us not to eat out. The next thing is savings. We continue to save every month. So roofing is a very seasonal, and you can have one year that you make 3 times what you make the next year, and you have to be prepared for that in your business. So we pay ourselves the same no matter what. Any excess goes into our 401k, our IRA, and our savings account. And then projects on the farm that I'm trying to do, what I call we're pre-prepping for retirement. So we're trying to get the farm in tip-top shape where all we have to do is keep up with maintenance when we're not bringing in income anymore and we're having to use the income that we've saved. And so we continue to save as much as we can. And I kind of feel like this next 3 years, we're backing off of working so hard, but we also want to continue to work and bring enough income in that we can save quite a bit of money. We have some pretty huge goals, so that when we leave, we're comfortable the rest of our lives. I am 12 years younger than my husband. So when we leave at 55, I'll be almost 56 and my husband will be 68. I really want us to have that comfort level where we can still take those vacations. And our vacations oftentimes look like, right now I have 2 days. I traded with a friend to use her Airbnb. I have $100 credit on Airbnb. Our next vacation is going to be a driving one. We're going to drive around and do an Ozarks tour and stay. So we'll only need to rent a place for a couple of nights, and I'll have that $100 credit. So, we vacation like that. We eat one meal out a day when we vacation. We hike, we go to parks, we go to museums, we visit historical places. Or we float the rivers, things like that. So our vacations aren't super expensive. Now, I'm not saying that we won't take some of those. We are looking into that, but it's probably going to start next year, and we're going to try to do one big vacation per year, because we want to go to Vermont and spend a week there, and that will be car rental, lodging, plane, all of that. We want to go to the Caribbean at some point. We're trying to figure out the best way to do that. Neither one of us, I have not traveled internationally. My husband has. My husband was a competitive athlete, a professional competitive athlete for a while. He's been to Italy and to Canada, which I don't really know if that considers that. But someone handled all of those arrangements, so we don't even know how. So for any of you watching this, if you've traveled internationally and you have some tips for us, I don't know if we're cruise people, but I thought a cruise might be a good way to see some things and kind of get your feet wet with international travel. So yeah, so we're just continuing to invest, even though right now, as I talk to you, there's a lot of arguing going on in the government about the debt ceiling, and they're saying that if it doesn't pass, which I think it will, that they will cause the market to go down up to 48%. But to me, that's like market's on sale, buy more stocks. So I invest every month I just handle our investments in index stocks through Vanguard. If you want to learn more about that, I would say read The Simple Path to Wealth, educate yourself and learn. We invest in CDs right now. We've looked at I-bonds, but that had a whole big to do with the website. It was so clunky. and it spit out my stuff and said it couldn't take it. So I gave up on the I-bonds, but they're down anyway. And yeah, we just continue to live a frugal, yet we spend money where we feel like it brings value to our life. Today, taking my son out to eat, going to look for a couple of lawn chairs for the back porch, planning a fall trip and planning to go see my granddaughter when she's born. Those are the big things I'm planning for. I'm also planning to take my parents out for Father's Day and my stepmother's birthday. I took my mom out to eat last week. You know, they don't have a lot of extra money. And so taking them out for a nice meal, doing nice things for them, those are the things that really make me happy. I'm cooking a big meal for friends on Friday. Someone said, you need to start living your life. And I'm like, I don't really want for a lot. And I think when you don't really want for a lot, you're happy with some kind of basic daily life. And you know, I am, like, when I'm planning to stay in Airbnbs, I am starting to look for more expensive stays, or stays that have like a hot tub or a pool, or that are on the lake or something like that, and trying to spend a little bit more money now that we're debt free on experiences. So anyway, this is more just a life update and to let you all know that I am going to go back to work for a little while. Coming out of semi-retirement, I still feel like I'll be semi-retired. I'm only going to teach 1 to 2 classes, you know, 1 class a week. So it's not that big of a deal. But thank you so much for watching and hanging with me.